All right, we're just about done. One last thing here. Web 2.0, the thing to know about that, it's exactly the same as everything else. There's no new attacks. The only thing to realize with the Web 2.0 application with Ajax, where it sends requests asynchronously, is that it increases your attack surface. So there's some things you have to worry about with it. But in general, it's the exact same thing. You have to have access control and input validation and all the error and secure communications. All that still applies. So just keep that in mind. And that is it. Any questions?
Will you put up the slides?
These slides?
Yep.
Yeah, if they're not down, I emailed them to Carrie, I don't know, Saturday or something. So if they're not on the site, then Dr. Carey.
They should be there.
They are on the site. There's some, it's a file.
Okay, it's a zip file. Okay, so yeah, I didn't know. I did this. Yeah, these presentations are different.
Okay.
Yeah, these
Too much
presentations.
security.
Yeah, there's a PDF version, a PowerPoint version, and then an OpenOffice version. So for each of them. Any other questions?
Can I ask on login, because the 8.5 database, the error database, doesn't kind of handle much logging. Really, what do you recommend? Or what do you...
There's some tags within Lasso that allows you to actually send your own messages to that logging. And you can send it, like Log Critical will send a message to that database with the priority of critical, and there's Log Warm.
But it can't take that much data, sort of thing.
Yeah, if you're doing a lot of auditing, you're probably going to want to create your own database with similar tags, right? You can create a custom tag that then opens a connection to the database and sends it some data into your own custom logging. And you might want to do that anyways, just to, if the box is taken over, you might want to have it on a different box that then can be audited. Once you know, once you have an attack on your site, it could be that they erase the whole hard drive. So if your log is stored on the hard drive, then you have no way of knowing how they got in, what they did, what they changed, what they saw. So without those records, or back it up regularly, at least, but the attacker's going to erase everything that they've currently done. So.
What framework would you recommend to use as a basis for security?
Use the one that best works for you. A lot of all the major ones that I'm aware of all have some security features and best practices built into them. So within Lasso, so it just kind of depends. I don't have one in particular to recommend. I guess is what I'm saying. And I haven't evaluated all of them, so I don't know in what. But I have had conversations with many of them, and they've all asked me to take a look at what their system is doing. So as time limits, I hope to get through those. And I'm hoping, presentations like this, and obviously if you read through the OWASP guide that's free for download, it has a lot of detail on each of these things I covered. And so you can, even for yourself and your own applications, if you're not using a framework or you're just using your own, at least you can start thinking about it. And there is, I want to mention, there is on OWASP's site, there's also another manual. It's a penetration manual that goes through the steps of trying to break into your own site. It tells you all the different attacks and all the ways to attack and what it means if something happens. And that's a fairly good size manual also, and it's free. You can download it, and it's got a lot of information, a lot of good information.
Just like citation for cross-site scripting and stuff like that. What do you?
Well, the best thing to do when you have user input, if it's text and you're going to be outputting text, is to encode it. Well, try and, as much as you can, try and strip out any HTML. You can look for angle brackets if you know they're not supposed to exist in the text. I mean, if it's something like 3 greater than 4, you can't strip it out. That you can encode it. If you're using that FCK editor and you're accepting HTML and you have to allow HTML, then you're in sort of a bind. It's not the most ideal, but OWASP does have a project called Anti-SAMI, which will then scrub it clean.
There's actually a tag on the tag swap where you use Lasso Wiki together with FCK editor. So you will never ever receive HTML code.
Yeah, that's the better way to do it, is to use some sort of, that's why like the BB bulletin board uses its BB code, and why you'll see a lot of forums will actually have you enter your HTML using alternatives so that they can strip out all the obvious HTML from the code and be, you know, it's coming from the user. That's the reason why. But there is anti-SAMI that OWASP has. I've never used it. I really, the thought of allowing a user to provide HTML makes me worried, even if they're a trusted user, because as I said in my presentation, there's ways to trick a trusted user into supplying bad stuff. So that's, but yeah, anti-SAMI would, if you absolutely have to accept HTML, you would probably want to use anti-SAMI. And you can also check my presentation from last year. I think it's on Lasso Tech, and that talks about, that actually goes through SQL injection and cross-site scripting, and the tags you would use within Lasso to protect against these things. I mean, that whole presentation was all on security vulnerabilities and how to mitigate them in Lasso. That's all Lasso.